What's up, everyone? These are some of the stocks that I've talked about recently and their returns. So, today I thought I would share my entire method of finding a stock from scratch. And the best part, you don't need to be a financial wizard to be able to find these stocks. You just need two things: some common sense and a whole lot of discipline. With that in mind, let's get started. Now, the first thing to do when trying to find a new stock to invest in is to find a sector to invest in. Now, for that, we need to take care of two things. फर्स्ट वी मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड द सेक्टर, हमारा कुछ एक्सपोजर होना चाहिए इस सेक्टर में. एंड द सेकंड, इस सेक्टर में एक अर्निंग्स रिविजन या फिर एक स्ट्रॉन्ग ग्रोथ होनी चाहिए. एंड वी कैन सॉल्व बोथ दीज प्रॉब्लम्स विद जस्ट वन क्वेश्चन: where are we spending our money? So wherever I'm spending most of my money or where I'm spending most frequently is going to belong to a sector where the earnings are going to be good because people like you and me are spending. At the same time, this sector will be something that I understand because, again, I'm spending money in it. So I'll know the competition, I'll know which brand is good, what works, what does not work, which means a large part of my work, the entire competitive analysis, the entire earnings analysis, is already done. Which is why right now, let's ask ourselves the question: where are we spending our money? Have we been vacationing a lot? If we have, then stocks like Indigo should be doing really well because wherever you go to vacation, you got to take a flight. And Indigo has been doing pretty well recently. Maybe when we travel, we go to a hotel. Now, which is the best hotel brand in India? Taj. Who owns Taj? The Tata Group. Under which name? Indian Hotels. That's a listed stock and it's been doing pretty well recently. Maybe we've just been shopping a lot online. And for today, I'm going to pick this sector. Shopping, right? Let's say we shop at Zara. Now, Zara is owned by the Tatas again under the brand name Trent. And the Trent stock has been doing phenomenally well. Maybe we don't shop at Zara. Maybe we shop at Alan Solly or Louis Philippe. Well, that's owned by the Birla Group under the stock ABFRL, and that has also been doing decently well. So now if I want exposure to this sector, I already have a couple of stocks. But how do we find these stocks if, well, I wasn't here? And it's much simpler than you might think. First thing, simply go to Google and type textile stocks in India. And you get a list of these stocks, about 50 of them here. And within the list of websites, मैं screener पसंद करता हूँ. The simple idea is, here, for every stock, I can find all the information I need in one place. Technical analysis, just getting to know about the company, what the company does, इसकी ownership कैसी है, कोई बड़े changes आए हैं क्या, सब कुछ मुझे एक ही जगह पे मिल जाता है, and the information is fairly reliable. So I try to stick with this one. They have an annual plan जो आप ले सकते हो. It's about $5,000 for a year, I think. More than worth it if you're investing because, of course, you expect to make more than that much money with this information. Now, what I have done is I've picked out 5 stocks out of the list of 50 that we saw, क्योंकि obviously 50 analyze करने का time ना आपके पास है ना मेरे पास है. You have better things to do than just watch me. So what we'll do now is, out of these 5, we'll see if one of the stocks could be something that we could invest in. Now, how do we do that? The way to do that is through a process of elimination. So उसके लिए हम क्या करेंगे? हम 5 चीजें check करेंगे. And if the company can get through those 5 things, then the company is worth investing in for me. The first thing is profit. So for example, if I'm looking at, let's say, Trent as the first company, which is obviously a brilliant company run by the Tatas, but मैं सबसे पहले यहाँ जाऊँगा within this tab, profit and loss, and मुझे check करना है ये company consistently operating level पे profitable है कि नहीं. Because if it's not profitable at this level, then that means company में कुछ तो अंदर issue है. Now, some companies are turnaround stories, and you could argue that you can invest in a company even if it's not profitable, because when it does become profitable, it will give you great returns and whatnot. But I try to stay away from those companies. The simple idea is, market में इतने stocks हैं कि मैं 20 stocks निकाल सकता हूँ जो profitable भी हैं, मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा risk exposure नहीं दें, still अच्छे returns दे दें. So why go into unprofitable ones, right? First filter, profitability. अगर company unprofitable है, which you can simply find by clicking on this tab, eliminate it. Trent is, so it stays. Checking the same for the rest of them. ABFRL seems to be profitable on an operating level. VMart, profitable on an operating level. Same for Page Industries and same for Arvind as well. So all the companies in front of us are profitable on an operating level. Good. We can continue and move on to the next one. The second is a bigger eliminator of stocks, which is debt. So all I have to do is click on this tab, जो मुझे balance sheet पे ले जाएगा, and मैं एक ही चीज़ को compare करता हूँ. ये जो 2 layers हैं, इनका sum reserve से कम होना चाहिए. ये 2 कंबाइंड बोरोइंग्स दिखाते हैं हमारी कंपनी के पास कितना डेट है उस पॉइंट पे, एंड ये कंपनी का कैश दिखाता है जनरली. सो मैं ऐसी ही कंपनी में रहना चाहता हूँ जिसके पास इनफ कैश हो टू कवर इट्स डेट. यू कैन गिव सम लेवरेज, 20% 15% तक का लेवरेज दे सकते हैं, उतना अगर गैप है तो ठीक है, बट इफ इट्स मोर देन दैट तो ऐसी कंपनी से दूर रहना चाहिए, बिकॉज इकोनॉमिक साइकिल में कोई भी डाउनटर्न आता है ना, जैसे लोग अभी रिसेशन की बात करें, तो ऐसे डाउनटर्न में ये कंपनी सफर कर सकती है. सो आई वॉन्ट टू स्टे अवे फ्रॉम दैट. In case of Trent, it is, as you can see, fairly good. Reserves are plentiful more than the borrowing, so good there. We check the same for ABFRL, and here you can see that the borrowings are way too much. इनके रिजर्व्स 3,000 करोड़ के हैं, जबकि बोरिंग्स अराउंड 18,000 करोड़ की हैं. एंड दैट कुड बी अ बिग रीजन वाई दिस कंपनी स्टॉक हैज नॉट गिवन मच रिटर्न्स. जबकि अगर हम ट्रेंड का चार्ट चेक करें, लुक एट ट्रेंड्स रिटर्न्स, इट्स बेसिकली अ स्ट्रेट लाइन अप. वेयर एज ABFRL के केस में अभी तक ये ऑल टाइम हाइस के आसपास ही है, उसके बहुत ऊपर भी नहीं गया. कुड बी वन ऑफ द रीजंस. होता क्या है ना, जब डेट बहुत ज़्यादा होता है तो उसे पे करने का भी कॉस्ट आता है. सो अगर मैं इसका प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस चेक करूं तो मेरे को दिखेगा ये इंटरेस्ट में अराउंड 1,000 करोड़ रुपए पे कर रहे हैं, राइट. दैट कैन बी अ बिग फैक्टर हियर. If I check the same for V-Mart Retail, going to the balance sheet, I can notice that यहाँ पर भी debt बहुत ज़्यादा है. So I wouldn't want to invest in this company either. Page Industries, going to the balance sheet, good for me. Again, debts ज़्यादा reserves in, the company is sound. Checking the same for Arvind, and यहाँ पर debt थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा लग रहा है मुझे reserve से. I think 10-15% का difference है, but that's forgivable, right? बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द डेट अगर ये पे ऑफ कर देते हैं तो थोड़े बहुत डेट तो मैनेज हो सकते हैं. लास्ट मोमेंट पे क्रेडिट लाइंस मिल सकती हैं, कोई एसेट सेल कर सकती है. यू कैन मैनेज दैट इन द वर्स्ट पॉसिबल सिनेरियोज. एंड वर्स्ट सिनेरियो में भी ऐसा नहीं होता कि पूरा डेट कॉल आउट हो जाता है, राइट. मे बी हाफ द डेट विल बी कॉल्ड ऑफ. सो इस केस में स्टिल गुड. आई हैव 3 कंपनीज स्टिल लेफ्ट विथ मी. देन द नेक्स्ट इज द वैल्यूएशन. एंड वैल्यूएशंस बहुत ट्रिकी होते हैं अलग अलग कंपनीज में, राइट. इफ यू लुकिंग एट जस्ट पी, तो एक IOC का पी 15 पे महंगा होता है, वेयर इज ट्रेंट का पी 150 पे भी चीप लगता है. So what I do is, instead of comparing different companies, I compare the same company to its historical valuations. Past में investors ने इसको कितना valuation दिया है at its peak performance, अगर उससे ये अभी काफ़ी नीचे है तो I'm fine, because लोग उससे ज़्यादा भी पे करने को तैयार हैं कंपनी को. So all I have to do is go to the chart, and within that ये एक टैब है PE रेशियो का, बस इस पर क्लिक कर. एंड मैं मैक्स पे देख रहा हूँ इसको मैक्स PE कितना मिला है, राइट. सो अरविंद के केस में इसका मैक्स PE यहाँ समवेयर अराउंड 38-40 है, एंड अभी ऑलरेडी 35-33 पे ट्रेड कर रहा है. सो दैट टेल्स मी इसमें पी री रेटिंग की जगह शायद ज़्यादा नहीं है. इतिहास में कभी इन्वेस्टर्स ने इसको इससे ऊपर वैल्यूएशन नहीं दी है. सो वाई वुड दैट चेंज नाउ? इफ देयर इज अ स्टोरी चेंज, वेल हु नोज, बट आई एम नॉट गोना रिस्क माई मनी फॉर दैट, राइट. मुझे रिटर्न्स डिलीवरी में एटलीस्ट सेफेस्ट कंपनीज में चाहिए जहां अच्छे भी रिटर्न्स मिल सकते हैं. दैट्स द पॉइंट ऑफ रिसर्च, राइट. यू वॉन्ट टू फाइंड द परफेक्ट रिस्क टू रिवॉर्ड रेशियो एज हाई एज पॉसिबल टूवर्ड्स रिवॉर्ड. सो रिस्की कंपनीज में क्यों जाना है? हाई वैल्यूएशंस में मैं नहीं एंटर करूंगा. अरविंद इज एलिमिनेटेड. आई चेक पेज इंडस्ट्रीज, अगेन क्लिक ऑन चार्ट, क्लिक ऑन पी रेशियो, सेट द टाइम लाइन टू मैक्स. ये 3 ही चीज़ें करनी है. एंड यहाँ मेरे को दिखता है कि ये हिस्टोरिकल पी से काफ़ी हद तक नीचे है. इसके हिस्टोरिकल हाई पी हैज़ बिन अराउंड 180 एंड अभी इट्स ट्रेडिंग एट अराउंड 80, सो हाफ, विच मीन्स फ्रॉम अ पी रेटिंग पर्सपेक्टिव पेज इंडस्ट्रीज के पास काफ़ी जगह है. सो दिस स्टेज. इफ आई लुक एट ट्रेंड, अगेन चार्ट, पी रेशियो सेट टू मैक्स. अगेन इसका भी प्राइस टू अर्निंग्स अभी हिस्टोरिकल लेवल्स के हिसाब से बहुत कम है. यू नोटिस 200 का पी है ये, विच इज सपोजिटली वेरी हाई, बट इन्वेस्टर्स हैव बीन रेडी टू पे हायर फॉर दिस, विच मीन्स द कंपनी मस्ट हैव समथिंग, राइट. आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू ऑल दैट. उतने कॉम्प्लेक्स इक्वेशंस सिर्फ हेज फंड इन्वेस्टर्स कर सकते हैं, राइट. दैट्स नॉट मेंट फॉर रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स. व्हाट वी कैन डू इज फिगर आउट बड़े इन्वेस्टर्स कितना पी देने को तैयार हैं. इज द कंपनी रियली वर्थ दैट? हियर सीम्स वर्थ इट, सो दिस स्टेज एज वेल. Then the fourth step is about checking इसकी technical situation कैसी है. Technical analysis all of us must have heard of, and I'm not going to go into the complexities. मैं सिर्फ इतना करूँगा, मैं अपने होराइजन को यहाँ पर चार्ट में पिक करूँगा. 5 year, 3 year, 1 year, मैं जितना भी होराइजन देख रहा हूँ अराउंड उस पीरियड में, let's say 1 year, and within that I'm going to check these 2 lines. The yellow line is the 50 DMA and the grey line is the 200 DMA. So make sure ये दोनों boxes checked हों. And here अगर 50 DMA मीनिंग ये येलो लाइन इस ग्रे लाइन के ऊपर है तो ये स्टॉक अप ट्रेंड में है. द लॉजिक इज 50 DMA रिफ्लेक्ट्स पिछले 50 दिनों का एवरेज प्राइस, 200 DMA रिफ्लेक्ट्स पिछले 200 दिनों का एवरेज प्राइस. इफ द स्टॉक्स प्राइस ओवर द लास्ट 50 days हैज बिन हायर देन द प्राइस ओवर द लास्ट 200 days, पिछले 50 दिनों में इन्वेस्टर्स ने ज्यादा प्राइस पे किया है कंपेयर टू पिछले 200 दिनों में, दैट मीन्स रिसेंटली द स्टॉक हैज बिन गोइंग थ्रू एन अप मूव. अगर वो सिचुएशन है, दैट मीन्स आई एम कैचिंग द स्टॉक एट अ गुड टाइम. द मार्केट थिंक्स द स्टॉक इज गोइंग थ्रू अ गुड पीरियड and that's a good time to invest. So for Trent, for example, the yellow line is above the gray line. I'm good with it. I can hold on to it. I'll check the same for Page Industries. I'll show you from scratch. We click on the chart, we go to price, make sure the 50 DMA and the 200 DMA is clicked. Go to a time horizon that you want to look at. I'm looking at 1 year here. ये yellow line, grey line के ऊपर है. In fact, अभी ही move up की है. So this might in fact be a very good time to buy this company. जब ये line just crossover करती है, इसको technical analysis में golden crossover बोलते हैं, which in a way says that this company is, well, in a perfect spot to buy. So I can still go into either of these companies. And ये chart check होगा हमारे analysis point of view से. The fifth and the last check is, again, we simply go to Google, we type the company's name and we type scams. The idea here is we want to make sure that we're not getting caught with something. So Trent, maybe India scam. And I noticed that I don't really see too much happening here. कुछ बड़ा नहीं दिख रहा है मेरे को, which means the company is fine. अगर मेरे को कुछ बड़ा दिखे यहाँ पर, कोई recent litigation है या कोई tax evasion problems चल रही हैं, this step just makes sure I don't get caught in what are called value traps. Like अगर आप राजेश एक्सपोर्ट्स को आज की प्राइस पे देखो तो it looks very cheap, but I wouldn't buy into the company because उस पे कुछ allegations है of some very severe scams. So that's it. If I do these 5 things, I should have a stock. Now with the stock under our belt, the next question becomes, how do we buy into the stock? Do we just buy in one go? Do we buy in tranches? How do we split the tranches? A lot of questions. Now there are 3 broad ways that I use to invest into a company, and it depends on the situation which way I will choose. So the first is bulk buy, wherein I'm just going to buy all the stock I want in one go, and I usually use this when the stock is corrected a lot. So for example, Piramal Pharma is about 60% corrected from the top. So it's a good time to buy as much as I need to. On the other hand, if there's a stock जिसकी आगे की price movement मुझे अच्छे से पता नहीं है, the stock might rise, the stock might fall, but I know the sector should do well, I know the stock should do well over a 3-year or 5-year period. Then I'll go into the stock slowly over 6 to 10 months, and that is the SIP form of investment. So every month I'm going to put about 1/6 or 1/10 जितने भी time period पे मैं spread करना चाहता हूँ, and I'll keep adding that whatever the stock price be. The benefit here is that the stock price is averaged over a long term, so usually हम trend को follow कर पाते हैं easily. The stock is either averaged down or averaged up, which reduces the pressure of wondering if the stock price is going to move up or down very quickly. This is usually used for very long-term investments. अगर आप 6 महीने invest ही कर रहे हो, तो you have to hold the stock for at least another year or 2 after that. The final way of investing is the average down or buy on dips. Now what we do here is we pick a stock, we find the current price, and we just invest. Even Warren Buffett says you shouldn't wait for the right time to buy into a company. If you think a company is fairly valued, just buy into it. So what I do is I buy half the value I want to put into the company in one go. Now, if the stock corrects by 20%, I'm going to buy another 25% of the value. And if the stock corrects by another 20%, I'll put in the final 25% of my total buying value. And that gives me the total investment in that stock if the stock corrects by 40%. If it does not, I don't make as much profit. But in most cases, when we buy a stock, it usually corrects a few percent before giving a rise up. At least that's the case for me. This solves that problem. So depending on the situation you find yourself in, you can choose whichever method you want to buy into a company. And the final and probably the most confusing question is, when do we sell a stock? Now I follow what is called the sell half rule, in which if a stock I've bought doubles, I just sell half of the total value, which means मैंने अपना investment निकाल लिया. Now all I've got invested in the company is the profits, which means I'm now pressure free. I can hold the stock for as long as I think the company might give me value. The other way to invest out of a company is to just sell when you feel like the stock is getting a little too popular. अगर किसी stock की news channels में बहुत mention होने लगती है, it's very likely that the company is now going into retail holding. It's a sad truth, but the more popular a company becomes, the lesser the chance of that company giving long-term value. Because retail, sadly, is usually the last to get into a company, especially hidden gems. Even though retail has done phenomenally well and has been very wise over the last 2 or 3 years, this is just about access to information. And as retail investors, हमारे पास वो information उतनी जल्दी नहीं आती जितनी बड़े corporates के पास या fund houses के पास जाएगी. So, if you hear about your stock in the news a lot, ride the wave up, but keep selling in tranches would be my advice. Hope you found this helpful. I'll see you next time.